blockchain. Things are about to change. Open up the gates. Systems get replaced. Bitcoin, decentralize the trust. Security, transparency. The network's run by us. Bitcoin.
Hello and welcome to the Bitcoin.com podcast. This is your host, Zach Doty. We have Eddy Travia here today, CEO at Coinselium. Eddy, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Zach. Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about what you guys are doing there at Coinselium. You guys are an investment group. What's the index that you're listed on?
It's called the ISDX in London. It's one of the recognized stock exchanges in London here.
Okay. And you guys are investing all across the sector in Bitcoin companies?
Yes, Bitcoin and blockchain. We started off in 2013 with an incubator called Sitcoin. At the time, we raised some funds. We actually raised some Bitcoin at the time, and we invested in 6 startups, mostly payment processors, exchanges, wallets, the infrastructure of Bitcoin payments, which was before blockchain became the buzzword out there. So, and then in 2014, we set up an office in London with some partners here, and we started raising funds in the UK. And we added some investments, and lately the last investments we've been doing are more blockchain oriented, like Rootstock, Factom, SatoshiPay, Nano payments platform.
So tell us about Rootstock. There's a lot of thunder right now with Ethereum, a lot of buzz around that. Is Rootstock going to steal that thunder from Ethereum? It seems like they're going to offer the same functionality, but they're going to do that on the Bitcoin blockchain, which gives you more singular platform to build all of this off of, right? And it makes sense to have a single blockchain that kind of is the parent blockchain, even if we have sidechains or other technologies. So I'm personally pretty excited about Rootstock. And I guess at Consensus last week, they launched their testnet. So tell us, what's the latest there?
Well, I mean, I can tell you a bit more about the history and how we got to invest in Rootstock. We've been speaking to Diego for a while. Back, I think, in 2013, we started communication with Diego Gutierrez Saldivar, who was the president of the association there, the Bitcoin Foundation there in Argentina. And in 2014, we started discussing about their space there, the Bitcoin space. And Sitcoin sponsored a co-working space in Buenos Aires and helped them set that up. And so I guess that made us, quite present, and we had good contacts. And when they started Rootstock, which is called now, RSK. RSK is the main word for it, I think, now. We found that project very exciting. The fact that you can have Ethereum virtual machine running on a sidechain attached to the Bitcoin blockchain. It's what we call, the best of both worlds in a way. We have the flexibility of the smart contracts on this and the security of the Bitcoin blockchain. So we are also quite excited about this. And then we talked to Sergio Lerner, who's the chief scientist there and the main person behind the tech. And actually, Sergio Lerner and Adrian Eiderman, the CTO, they were here in London in April for our blockchain tech lab. So yeah, I think I'm not sure it's really a one-on-one competition, because as you may know, what you can do on Rootstock is going to be fully compatible with Ethereum. If you write it in Solidity, you can use it on the Rootstock. I mean, eventually, obviously. Now they just started the net, so the test net. So we feel that both can coexist. I mean, we also like Ethereum a lot. We are watching closely the projects there, the DAOs, and all the exciting projects around the Ethereum and the smart contracts. But yeah, it's not. I think both will work together and hopefully coexist very well and grow as well.
Yeah, and it seems like altcoins in general serve as a testing ground, and the things that really show themselves to be valuable in altcoins can be brought in as sidechains eventually, just adding to Bitcoin's establishment as the dominant, the most secure, the best hash rate, the best market cap, and so I'm excited to see. This is like the first example of a really valuable use case for sidechains. and very excited to see this develop and to start to play with Rootstock. Tell us about SatoshiPay. What are you guys doing there? I see you kind of rebranded, really focused on nano payments for websites. You have the widget there. Are you guys getting any traction with use yet, or are you guys going to be developing Chrome extensions? What's the vision for the nano payments at SatoshiPay?
That's also a startup that we feel is going to grow and become hopefully a success in the near future. We really like Mainhard Ben, the founder of SatoshiPay. We have been talking to him as well for a while, and the nano payments sector is very exciting. Obviously, that's one of the core features of Bitcoin, the fact that you can go into Satoshis and you can make tiny little payments, for example, for pay-per-view, pay-per-use. It's a new way to monetize the internet, and that's what's exciting about it. And it's so SatoshiPay initially was supported by and it still is by Axel Springer, which is a big media company and media conglomerate in Germany. And then we invested as a lead investor, and then we also introduced another investor called Fast Forward, which is listed on AIM as well, listed in London as well. And so we feel that it's a new way to monetize the internet, which makes it very easy for either large groups to monetize their content, but also, of course, smaller companies and even freelancers. And you have this natural two-way system whereby you can either pay tiny amounts in satoshis, or you can also receive payments. So that's at the same time, the widget is very, very easy to use, very simple. Right now there's a WordPress plugin, but obviously they're working on various plugins. There is traction. I mean, of course, we're still in the early stages, but we feel it's going to grow fast. At the same time, last week, I don't know if you've seen, but Visa Europe Collab announced a partnership with SatoshiPay to develop Internet of Things type payments, micropayments to start a proof of concept with them. So that's very good news, and we're going to watch closely where this goes.
The IoT seems like the obvious use case for nano payments, and I think that's where 21 was trying to focus with their Bitcoin computers and what they've done with payment channels. There's StrawPay, SatoshiPay, there's Lightning, and I guess we really haven't seen a major use case, but I think that the Internet of Things is probably going to be the real future of that. Programmable web and machine-to-machine payments, API payments. So it's exciting to see.
Yeah.
Great work on that. Tell us about BitSim and what that promises in terms of financial inclusion, in terms of giving access to people with feature phones. What are you guys working on there?
So that BitSim was the original name back in 2013 when we started talking with them, and 2014 when we invested. Now it's called Fuso, Fuzo. Yeah, that's a great example of use case of both Bitcoin and new technology. So the people behind Fuso and the CTO Leon Gerard Vandenberg was creator of Navy Cash, which was a system for the Navy, the U.S. Navy, not to carry cash on their when they were at sea, and so he has very long experience in the digital cash environment and space. And now, so with Fuso, basically initially it started as a SIM overlay. It was a very thin silicon wafer, like similar to a SIM card that you would put between the SIM card and the phone, and would create this zero footprint wallet for Bitcoin or other blockchain-based assets. But now, of course, they're also looking at other solutions, because some phones now are becoming SIM-less. So they're looking at actually also, developing maybe phones but for the moment, they have a prototype that's working. They have already tested the solution. They're working with the University of Adelaide in Australia, and they have a lab there. And they are looking at exploring emerging markets mainly, because obviously in emerging markets, as usually the population there leapfrog. So, for example, they all moved to mobile phones because they didn't have the infrastructure of the fixed lines. And the same way with payments, a lot of these people are unbanked or underbanked because basically there is no banking infrastructure nearby. So for these reasons, they want to partner with NGOs and NPOs and jointly deliver products solutions for financial inclusion, basically giving access to the global, e-commerce to the people there. It could be farmers, it could be local entrepreneurs, and they will supply them the solution so that they can receive payments, make payments through the mobile phone. So initially, you don't necessarily need a smartphone. Obviously, with a smartphone, you can have apps, but with even a feature phone, you can still use it on an SMS system. But of course, with the smartphones, if they have internet access, that, for example, that could be provided through partnerships with NGOs, etc., then they can use as well apps. But the idea is for them to be able to trade, buy and sell goods using blockchain-based assets.
Financial inclusion is definitely one of the most powerful promises that Bitcoin has to offer. And one of the things that excites me the most about Bitcoin, about this whole space in general, is the promise of just bringing financial services to everyone so that everyone has equal access. So what other companies do you think hold promise in this area? Or, you mentioned transferring money over SMS. That is great. I would love to see that become more popular. Although I think as feature phones have had their day, I think smartphones are going to be the thing, right? They're probably going to be in everyone's hands within 5 or 6 years. So, Bitcoin on a smartphone is pretty easy. And do you see a lot of growth in these developing countries with Bitcoin usage? Is there any particular countries that the Fuso has gained a lot of traction in?
No, Fuso is still at the stage of establishing partnerships, because obviously you need to go into these markets with a very strong local partner. So they are talking to various partners at the moment. So they're just being in a test mode at the moment. They're not actually rolling out. They're working with partners to do that soon. But I would say, yeah, I mean, you're right. Financial inclusion is one of the biggest markets for Bitcoin, simply because it's a real use case that is basically not competing with so many other options. As you know, in our developed world, we Bitcoin is just one payment method competing with many others. Obviously, for emerging markets, there are not so many options. At the same time, you have solutions like the famous M-Pesa solution, which may work in certain areas, not in others. But I guess it's great to have more competition and to have an environment where people have more choice. So your mobile penetration in these countries is very high, as you were saying, and obviously smartphones will end up being the main device on which you can run these applications and uses. So yes, they're getting ready for that, and they're working on this type of solutions. One other company we have in our portfolio that can be associated with financial inclusion is MEXBT. MEXBT is also an entrepreneur who created that. We started talking to him back in September 2013. Then in 2014 he created the first Bitcoin exchange in Mexico, and he quickly became the leader on that market. But now he's also looking at, he has been developing to Asia to develop cross-border transfer payment systems. And that, in a way, is also a financial inclusion tool, because it can enable entrepreneurs to sell goods or to pay for goods from China, for example, at a much lower cost than through the usual banking process, for example.
Right, and so the other company that you have that's in this financial inclusion space is the MEXBT, your remittance.
Yes, that's the one.
Your remittance platform. And in just a personal story there, I have a lot of developers that I pay, and I pay most all of them in Bitcoin. But I had one recently who wanted paid in PayPal, and this developer was in Nepal. And then I found out that after having paid him for several months in Nepal through PayPal completely suspended his account because they don't support that. And he had used some address from another country thinking that he could get away with that. And of course, PayPal came around and said, oh, you don't actually have that address, so your account is not even valid. You're in a country we're not going to support. and of course now he gets paid in Bitcoin, and it's a much better for him. But he lost, I don't know how many, but it was a couple $1,000s, I think. And that's just one story of how traditional financial solutions really create a difficult place for people to get out of poverty, and Bitcoin offers a way for them to protect their wealth, whether it's in areas with inflation or areas with no banking or areas that just are cut off from any kind of payments to the outside world. And so because of Bitcoin, this guy now has a way to continue earning an income. And so yeah, it's exciting to see.
There is one area, just quickly on that, which is growing, as you may know, is the charity payments to remote areas, parts of the world, or just parts of the world that may be far from the donors' location. And there is, as you were saying, the same barriers to making payments by traditional means, by banks, etc., exist. And there was an event very recently, and one of the leaders of a charity company here in the UK said they have people who want to give money, for example, to send money to the Middle East, to Syria, in the current refugee situation. And although they can collect easily money in the UK for that, they basically cannot send money there because banks refuse to send money to this country, for example. So we have in our Accelerator program, we have one company called HelperBit, originally from Italy. And for example, they are a P2P natural disaster relief solution, management solution, and they use Bitcoin for that. So, that's another example of being able to go around processes that may not, that prevent people from receiving funds in their country.
So what I see in MEXBT, you guys have 65 Bitcoins of volume in the last 24 hours. So it's still small, but I would be excited to see this grow. And of course, if Trump is elected, he might make remittances much harder for Mexicans, and so Bitcoin might get even more use than it does today if that happens. And we'll see how that plays out. But there's a lot of room for growth there. I'll be keeping an eye on those volume numbers to see how that develops. So you guys are also invested in Coinsimple, and I actually used Coinsimple a while back, tried out their invoicing. It works great. It's a simple, easy way for those who don't know to invoice and get paid in Bitcoin. Tell us what you guys are working on there. Any plans, or is it just as it is? Or?
Well, for the moment, it's a solution that has a lot of traction without much marketing at all. People use it, find it useful and well done and well designed. Yeah, we are in discussion. We having some discussions with Nikos Bentenitis, the founder, and some other companies, which we cannot talk about right now. But yeah, there are some things in plan, that we're working on. But, I think it's part of these tools that are very useful. You just need to apply to the right use case and the right industry, I guess. But yeah, there are some things going on. Just we cannot unveil it at the moment. I'm sorry.
Okay. And Magnar, this is very interesting to me because you guys are offering some interest on a Bitcoin savings account. It's actually pretty good interest for a savings account, 2.3%, I think, right now, APR. Tell us about that. So is this similar to the Poloniex lending or the Bitfinex swaps?
Not exactly. I mean, for example, in a way, they do reuse, of course, a part of the Bitcoin that are being saved to lend it. Obviously, that's how they get the interest in the first place. But they don't do it on a marketplace basis like Bitfinex. They do it through their own partners, through people they have vetted, they have done some due diligence on, or mainly companies actually. And yes, it's a great solution because. As you know, having kind of a threshold of interest rate in that market, that's great. It's kind of can become like a benchmark. I think there is a great potential in traditional savings, traditional financial type services that are available around the world in dollars or in euros, which should come on the Bitcoin and make everybody feel that they can use Bitcoin for all types of users, save money, lend money, etc. I think all these services are very helpful in the ecosystem. So yeah, I think they're their Bitcoin savings part of the business is growing quite fast. The trading part, of course, is has been doing very well until now. It's always a bit in correlation with the volatility of the Bitcoin market, and in a way, Bitcoin has not been that volatile in the past month, so it's always you get a little bit less trading on that. But as a savings account, the savings part is doing very well. Yeah.
And the security on that savings, you guys have the Bitcoins are held in some kind of a multi-sig with BitGo, is that correct?
Yes, I believe that's how they do it. Yeah, correct.
Do you know if there's any kind of insurance, or if they're planning to get some kind of an insurance to protect the assets that they're holding?
No, at the moment there is no insurance simply because this is a platform that has been created back in 2013 in April, and there has never been any issue, any security breach of any kind until now. So I think they have an historical record which is impressive in that regard. So I guess they don't really need to add some costs such as insurance. But of course, if the amount of Bitcoin starts to be very large, or if there is a demand for this, they can look into it. But for the moment, no, it's not under some kind of an insurance plan. Yeah.
I see. Okay. Yeah, I think there's a couple companies that are kind of insured at this point. I think Coinbase has something. I think Elliptic has some kind of insurance. And I think that Elliptic doesn't charge much for their insurance policy. I think it starts out with just like 10 basis points or something very cheap. I don't know what it is exactly right now, but and then I think there's ItBit, which is FDIC insured, and I would love to talk to the guys at Magnar and see if there's any potential for them to partner with one of those three companies to have them, or even BitGo, if BitGo is holding the third key, whoever's holding that third key, it would be great if that third party would have some kind of insurance policy on the transactions they sign.
I think with some of the solutions you mentioned, and you don't really get the amount being insured. You get insured against certain breaches and things like that. So I think as is usually the case with insurance, you have to read the fine print and see exactly what is being insured. But yeah, I mean, of course, that's one area that I believe they have been looking at it before, but it's just that it was not satisfactory what they found. So, but they're already working with ItBit because ItBit is one of their trading partners. So maybe yes, they could talk to them about that.
And ItBit is FDIC insured, which I think would give a lot of traditional investors a little more confidence in maintaining, because for savings, if you're earning 2%, I think the insurance is pretty important because the returns are marginal, so the security has to be pretty high. But yeah, that would be awesome. Definitely would like to keep an eye on that and see how that develops. And then you guys have invested in the Real Asset Company. We just had Joshua from Vaultoro come on, and you guys are doing something similar with the Real Asset Company. It's a Bitcoin brokerage for gold. Is that correct?
No, it's not. It's not Bitcoin brokerage for gold. It's a gold trading platform which added kind of crypto-based currency called a gold block, which is not a currency that you can exchange anywhere or listed on other exchanges. It's only on this platform that you can exchange it between members of that platform, mainly for regulatory reasons. So it's initially a gold trading platform which has been running for more than 3 years now.
And Factom, we heard a lot about Factom, and that they're trying to be this data layer for blockchains to create this immutable permanent histories. I think land titles is the big use case that I see them focused on. Any developments there? We heard about some kind of a partnership or some kind of at least a working relationship with some of the governments in South America. Is there anything new down there or anything new in terms of like government involvement with like taking land deeds and blockchaining?
Well, I talked to Peter Kirby. Came to our blockchain tech lab in London, which we did in April. We had like 12 speakers, and some of them were from our startup, so we invested in. And Peter Kirby came from the US for that, and he gave us a little bit of update on various projects. I think on the Honduras one, it's ongoing. They're still they're working there with with the partners there, and it's ongoing. But they have other very exciting projects going on. Factom, I guess you may have seen some announcements regarding smart cities projects in China. I know the Factom, some members of the Factom team were in China recently, or are going there regularly to work with some partners there. I mean, what I like about Factom is that, first of all, is the scale of their projects. You know, they're doing projects with several cities in China. They're doing projects with countries. They're doing projects with banks. I mean, it's very, it's a great company in that sense, bringing Bitcoin, the blockchain, right to the heart of very large companies, and that's great. And I find they have a very good approach. Data storage is key to all these large corporations or large public organizations, and that's one area where where blockchain can bring a lot. So I think it's they're doing very well. They have very large projects. I'm not sure about how much I can tell about all these projects, so I prefer to stick with the ones that have already been announced. But they have a lot of things going on. Yeah.
By the way, anything new from the Hive team? I don't think they're doing the wallet anymore. Is there any other developments that they're going to be working on?
Well, I'm regularly in contact with Wendell, so I know they're doing things, but not anymore in relations to Hive. No, so other areas. But Wendell is a very creative entrepreneur, and we still we talk regularly. I don't think either that he's making anything public for the moment, so I cannot say. But he's still active in the space. Yeah.
And so what other companies do you have coming out of your accelerator that might be interesting? You have an accelerator with some companies that aren't featured on your website yet. Is that correct?
Yes, we haven't featured them. We are working on the communication around that. I'm going to talk to them next week again. We have an accelerator program in Barcelona. We had 4 startups coming in this year in February. The different teams are, so I mentioned one from Italy, HelperBit, which is this natural disaster relief management, P2P based and Bitcoin based as well. We also had Bit2Me, which is a very exciting Bitcoin platform. They have an exchange; they are the leading exchange in Spain. Plus, they have points of sales for something called Ticketbit, which is a voucher that allows you to buy Bitcoin and other digital currencies. Basically, allows you to top up an account and have some credit on an online account. So on the Bitcoin exchange part, they already have 10,000 ATMs where you can cash out in Spain. And on the Ticketbit part, which is a voucher, they have 11,000 points of sale. So that's quite, they're doing very well. So this is a Spanish team, obviously. And then we had another Spanish team working on a trade finance blockchain-based solution called Coinselium, founded by a French lawyer based in Barcelona, at the bar in Barcelona. And very, very good project as well, because as you may know, you probably know, supply chain and blockchain, it's great. Trade finance obviously brings another layer of complexity. As you know, currently a lot of different points are based on paper or on faxes or documents, or it can be based on digital signature, but that's also something you can easily integrate on a blockchain-based solution. So that's another one. And then the fourth one is quite exciting as well. It's one of our only hardware plays called Mindbox. The team has experience both at mycelium and storage, and it's an NAS play. It's a network attached storage where you can actually gain Bitcoin by renting out idle space on your storage device, on your data storage device. So and at the same time you can have your data backed up and encrypted on the network. So that's very interesting. So we haven't much communicated on this yet. We're working with these guys, and we're going to start posting more information in the next few weeks out there. And they have worked very hard, and hopefully they will do very well in the near future.
Great.
All
So,
right.
what kind of companies are you trying to find in the Bitcoin ecosystem? What are you looking for in terms of startups? Are there particular categories? Are you looking at the Internet of Things application or DAOs, or what are you trying to find if you're looking out there as an investor?
Well, as our latest investments are more into like platforms like Rootstock or Factom, or like larger plays, scalable plays, obviously. Yes, I mean, IoT type applications that are also of interest. Of course, we like the whole Ethereum environment, the fact that there's a lot of, we feel a lot of entrepreneurial energy around it. DAOs are doing very well. But of course, then we would have to adapt a little bit the investment process. I mean, we're still being very, very excited since we started this, and we see that, of course, we're going through different waves of different types of technology, different types of applications. But we're very open-minded. We are kind of blockchain agnostic. We don't really need to, but we fully support Bitcoin in the sense that it is the as you were saying earlier, it is the blockchain that is the most secure, the oldest one out there, and the one that has the highest usage at the moment, market cap and stability. So we're looking at various projects. We have many. We receive on a very regular basis various projects. We meet with a lot of entrepreneurs. I mean, in that sense, our activity hasn't changed. What has been changing for us at Coinselium more recently, and especially this year, is that we are starting to develop these programs. So we have accredited programs in the UK. We're the first accredited program in the Bitcoin and blockchain world. It's called, the CTO of the company, Hakim Mamoni, delivers a course called Bitcoin, Blockchain and Beyond. That's a regular course every month that's doing very well, teaching brokers, lawyers, accountants all about Bitcoin and blockchain. And we have the Blockchain Tech Lab, which was quite a feat, with 5 full days of courses, various topics, Ethereum, private, public blockchain, security, it was very, very exciting. It worked very, very well. We hope to do more. We had a blockchain hackathon as well following that. So we had a very good and busy week. So I would say, apart from the things we look at in investment, as you were saying, we have a lot of potential synergies as well between our startups and our investments. We're also looking at education and now as well consulting and working with organizations on their blockchain strategy as well.
So do you have any predictions with the halving being only 59 days away? What do you think the market's going to do? Or do you trade as well?
No, I don't. No, I don't trade much. No, I mean, since we started, we really looked at the entrepreneurial ecosystem at the startups. We felt that investing in startups could be a better bet investing in Bitcoin. But we have, of course, I mean, we all have, Hakim and I, we have some Bitcoin. We have been trading a little bit, but not very active.
Well, do you think the halving is going to be a big publicity event? Like it's going to bring a lot of new people into Bitcoin? Do you think it'll be all over the press? I kind of feel like the last time we had the halving, the price didn't move a lot right away, but then over the next 5 months, it increased maybe 20x or something. So, I don't know what predictions are for this halving. I think it's potentially going to be a pretty big thing, though, to have the supply cut, from 3,600 coins per day down to 1,800 coins per day.
Well, if there is a big push in media exposure, that's great, obviously. I mean, that's, I hope so. We will try to make a little bit of noise as well around that on our accounts and on our end. England is quite right now active. I think there is a good market for Bitcoin, and it's great. And hopefully it's growing. I think there is a big difference, obviously, between the 4 years from now and now in terms of the market itself. I mean, as we can see now, the market is less volatile. It's a much bigger market, more mature. You have a lot of people taking advantage probably of arbitrage opportunities, etc. So basically, I feel the price is more stable. So the impact may not be as huge, probably will not be as huge as it was 4 years ago. I hope there is impact in any way. And yes, if the media cover it, that would be great. I'm not going to predict really if it goes up or down. I think the market will adjust itself. I think the miners will have to adapt to this new and probably have already, started working on strategies to adapt to the fact that they will receive less Bitcoin and there will be less Bitcoin on the market, etc. So I think I really like the fact that Bitcoin, we get surprises, regularly, and we're still learning. We're all still learning, which is great.
And it seems like with the bearish trend that we had for about 2 years, it seems like the interest in venture capital and the private capital sector started to diminish a little bit towards the last part of last year. but it seems like with the price picking up, hopefully that interest is renewed. It seems like there was $1 billion invested last year, and those companies are still building their technology. They're still working to build products, and now we're starting to see a lot of those come out, and it'll be exciting to see what that does for the ecosystem. So yeah, very excited to see your companies.
Correct.
I think your companies contribute a lot to the overall ecosystem. I think my favorite might be Rootstock at this point, just because I want to see that kind of attached to the Bitcoin blockchain and bring all of these distributed autonomous organizations, bring all that, and I think we'll see a lot more traction actually in DAOs once those can be done on the main chain or a side chain of the main chain, right? So very excited to see everything you're doing, and thanks for joining us on the podcast.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, Zach. Nice speaking with you, and I'll talk to you soon then.
This is the Bitcoin.com podcast, and you can go to bitcoin.com/podcast to get more episodes. Bye.
Welcome to the blockchain.